This is Janai Nelson, President and Director Counsel of the Legal Defense Fund. The past year and the past several years have been trying in unprecedented ways. We have experienced extraordinary levels of regression. The future of our democracy and many of the freedoms we have enjoyed for generations hang in the balance. No matter the outcome of the 2024 elections, that would have remained true. But the results of this week's contests cast a cold shadow on the transformative change our country generally and Black communities specifically so urgently need. To many of us, that reality is equal parts dismaying, precarious, and daunting. For Black people, those feelings are all too familiar. And yet, for generations, we have powered through. At this moment, we must power through again. But this moment is far too complex and far too threatening for us to carry on as we have in the past. It requires deep reflection, thoughtful strategy, and an affirmative vision for the future of our multiracial, multi-ethnic democracy. LDF is fully prepared to use bold, data-informed strategies to mobilize our communities and to respond in all the ways we are called to in this moment of crisis. Through impact litigation, policy advocacy, organizing, research, narrative shaping, and by sharing our message far and wide so that the world knows we are unbowed in our commitment to hold this country to a higher standard. For nearly 85 years, LDF has adhered to an unshakable mandate to reshape this nation for the benefit of us all, to break down the barriers of injustice and inequality, to dismantle systems that seek to oppress and replace them with structures designed to uplift. We have done that work under the scourge of Jim Crow, amid fierce backlash to desegregation, as efforts to expand access to opportunity are being weaponized against us. And indeed, under the first Trump administration and within a hostile judicial landscape, at every turn, we have moved the needle in transformative ways. From upending the separate but equal doctrine and ushering in the era of integration, to paving the way for Black voters in Alabama and Louisiana to successfully elect the congressional candidates of their choice just this year. We cannot lose sight of that progress, nor should we dismiss the fact that for the first time in the 235-year history of the U.S. Senate, 2 Black women will serve simultaneously as the first Black senators from their states, Delaware and Maryland. In 7 states, voters enshrined reproductive rights in their state constitutions this election cycle. In the face of steep barriers to the ballot, millions of voters, Black voters across the South, exercised their fundamental right to vote and made their voices heard thanks to the tireless work of LDF lawyers, poll monitors, and volunteers who positioned themselves to protect the right to vote during this pivotal election. LDF is quite literally built for this moment. Right now, we are drawing upon that well of experience, centuries of survival, and the unyielding commitment to principles of humanity to give us the fortitude required to navigate both the threats and opportunities that lie ahead. We will continue the important work of protecting the vote from casting to counting. We will remain vigilant, and most importantly, we will treat each other with grace, dignity, and respect, as I hope we all will. Now is not the time to resort to tribalism and division. Now is the time for coalition strengthening. Now is the time for people who are committed to advancing justice and freedom for all to step forward as the moral leaders we need. Thurgood Marshall defined freedom as people realizing they are their own leaders. Hold on to that sense of agency and self-determination. Be resolute and build community with those who refuse to cede any more ground. Those among us who refuse to allow the truth of our history to be erased or buried and everyone who is determined to create the democracy we have long been promised, but have yet to hold within our grasp. Direction, leadership, fearless resolve, and clarion vision in the face of obscurity and obstacles are the only way forward. And I invite you to join us in that fight, together and unafraid.